This is the Running Channel podcast with me, Sarah Hartley, this idiot over here, Andy Baddeley, and this lovely man to my left, Rick Kelsey. And today we are chatting all about how running changed our lives, as well as answering your questions and talking about some news.
I'm worried. I'm worried. Why am I a lovely man
what's
and
the problem?
is an idiot?
Why do you look annoyed?
Well, I mean, I assume you're going to abuse me, but why are you being nice to him?
Yeah, what do you want?
You'll see. You'll see.
Oh, I can't wait. Let's get stuck in.
So, I am a lovely man.
It's already backfired. It's gone to your head.
My mum would say that, but I've never heard you say that. What's going on?
Well, you're just your hair's looking nice and fluffy today.
Washed it. Rarity.
Yeah, I'm just appreciating the personal hygiene.
Start of the month, decided to wash your hair.
How often do you wash your hair, Andy?
Oh, very good, very good. So unnecessary.
You know what I did as well? Is I was like,
both.
oh, good question. Turns to Andy, remembers he's bald. Carry on.
I shaved
Just
my
just for our audio listeners.
I remember you with hair.
When
It's not
did
that long
you
ago, it was like
last
last
have hair?
year.
Last
There
year, I was
is-
going to say.
If anyone wants to have a good laugh, then watch the podcast and then click back to a video on YouTube circa 2020 where your wife was cutting your hair in
Yes,
lockdown.
she was in lockdown.
And it
Oh, yeah.
kind of looks
Yeah.
like a squirrel just landed on your head.
She could only do the back and sides with clippers. We didn't touch the top for about a
leave
year.
the top.
I
It
love
was
that.
like a small little hedge,
Oh,
just
gosh.
going higher and higher.
And then Tom, who's behind the monitors over there doing Rick's old job, he had a long time spent editing videos of me during lockdown where I was just trying to ignore the fact that I clearly had a bit of a bald spot going on.
Oh, really?
And then
This is very honest.
and then I got to the point
This
where I
is
was like,
very
I'm going to
honest.
have to shave it all off.
Yeah.
So
Hey, you're rocking it.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I think you.
It's kind of like full circle
It's
because
much
this was the
easier.
haircut you had
You
in
do
your
work it
career,
well.
right?
this was one I used to run for. 2 or 3 showers a day was my main motivation for shaving my head back
Yeah.
then. It was just
really?
easier.
Any kind of aerodynamical impact?
Yes, I did. That was my degree as well, aerodynamics. So maybe I
Yeah.
should claim that.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
why am I in the bad books and Rick is the lovely man?
Just because I knew it would annoy you.
Oh, it has annoyed
Look,
me.
it has annoyed
has
you.
really
So
annoyed
that's
me.
worked. Anyway, to running,
Yes.
because one of the first things you said to us today was, guys, last week we didn't get into running for a good 10 minutes.
Yes,
so
that's true. I'm very conscious that comment
Yeah.
is still sitting with me, although we've had lots of lovely people
We're-
give us some more
actually-
support for our 1-star review, which said that we...
Yeah, for our first 10 minutes of
Yes.
the podcast.
Yeah, so if you hadn't listened to last week, we got a 1-star review, but we've tackled it, we've talked through it, and
Just from one
actually,
person.
just from one
Yeah,
person.
we've moved on.
We've moved
I
on.
absolutely haven't
We
moved
have
on.
not moved on, but we've got some more constructive criticism, which
Okay.
Andy, this one's directed at you,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I know you're not up to date on social media, so
No.
I thought I'd just read it out. So from this
If it
person.
wasn't telegrammed to me,
It didn't arrive by pigeon, so I'll just read it out. Although I might have just done what this person said. Andy, as you are the boss, after your 1-star rating, can I try and give you some constructive advice, please?
Oh, hit
They
me
do
with it.
say, for context, I've been watching and I still enjoy it, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I know this is the structure and the content for the podcast, but can you dial Rick and Sarah down a bit? As Rick can't be that dumb and Sarah can't be that annoying. Obviously, it's just for the banter and the entertainment, but get them to dial it back just a touch. And then my favourite part,
Harsh.
P.S. was Rick's last running watch a sundial?
I think this is Rick.
What were their name? What was the name of the person?
I think it was Joel.
Joel. No. Me and Sarah aren't that dumb. Or
Sarah and I.
Sorry.
Sarah
Oh,
and
sorry,
I aren't
Joe.
that
Joe.
Oh, here we go. All right, Cambridge, back in your box.
Oh.
Sarah and I aren't that dumb. We just don't like to use acronyms, and we like to explain things and get them explained to us.
Yeah, but
by
just to
somebody
confirm,
who knows a bit more.
I wasn't described as dumb. I was described as annoying.
Oh, annoying.
Yeah. Very smart.
Honestly, I'd take dumb over annoying.
Very annoying.
I mean, I wish that I didn't have to take both every single week, but I do. I have to sit here with you. But we're gonna jump in. I would love to know what running you've been doing, Sarah.
so last week I was talking about my Achilles.
Yeah.
And it's a lot better. I've been
Good.
following my strict instructions. I've been doing
You have been really diligent, actually, for once.
Yeah, can I actually just say, anyone who's gone to a physio or anywhere and has got exercises that you're supposed to do, actually do them. It makes such a difference.
Yes, do what you're told to do. That's
Do
the
what
whole
you're told.
point. Yeah.
But I do think quite often you kind of I've come away before where I've had like a whole routine or a whole set of things to do, and that's quite hard. Whereas this time I've literally had one thing to do, but just for ages. It was like 20 sets of 20 seconds of something. But I went yesterday to the gym, did it. It's feeling much better. I'm doing a 5k run after this, and I'm just keep rotating like 5k
to
one
be
day.
sensible.
Yeah.
Well, top tip, genuinely, there's loads of people who think physios are expensive, which they are, but the people that are going to treat you and hopefully help you back to fitness again have trained for a long time to be qualified to be able to actually give you advice. But they're not as expensive as races that you pay for and then don't get to run in because you're injured. And also, I think there's a perception that physios will often just say rest and then come back again in order to kind of make money out of you. That's the opposite of my experience. Actually, the best physios only want to see you once, twice, maybe 3 times.
Yeah. And also,
the only way they get to see you once, twice, or 3 times is if you've done the exercises in between. Otherwise, you will be going there for a year.
I don't want to tell you how many physio sessions I had.
Oh, well, you've had a lot, but you're a very special case in more ways than one.
You are.
But also, one of the first things the physio said when I went to go see them was like, okay, what are we dealing with here? Can you come once or can you come? I think there's an awareness now of that it's not cheap. And to some people, it might be a luxury to go and get that advice. But I think physios are becoming more aware that it is quite expensive.
And there are injuries, Achilles actually being a good one. And this isn't advice that applies to every single injury like this. But generally speaking, my understanding, Achilles injuries don't get that much better with rest. You have to do some controlled loading and having someone that helps you control that and design a program to return to running is really important. And it takes the pressure off you, just like having a coach. If you've got someone else who's an expert that says, just do this for the next 2 weeks, come back and see me, or do this for the next month, or build up to this level before you consider running, or whatever it might be.
I think it's very easy as well to Google and then assume that you're the expert in that field, which I've definitely done. I've definitely been guilty of. And 9 times out of 10 when you find
Is there a way to avoid it? Is there an exercise to avoid an Achilles injury?
I think nothing's going to ever mitigate against all injuries. So no. But I do think that preemptive, proactive exercises like consistent calf raises and eccentric, so controlling on the down movement, or holding
in the shower.
or holding isometric calf holds where you're putting your calf under load and then holding that position. Those sort of things, when you're not injured, are likely to protect you a little bit.
Calf raise is very good in the shower. Good time to just 20 on each leg. Easy.
In the shower?
Yeah.
No, I do them before bed on the stairs just outside the bedroom. Yeah, that sort of thing. So throw them in. So Rick, have you been running?
I don't want to mention it, but
ring that PB bell.
Yeah, I got a PB on Saturday. I'm over the moon because
is this an outright PB as well?
Outright PB,
not a post-surgery PB.
Yeah,
no. We do need to. Rick, actually, can I instruct you that in the edit, can you please put in some cheering, some bells?
Cheering and bells.
Yeah,
all right.
Bells and whistles.
Nice. It's in.
Done.
So I was building up to it. So last week I did 2 runs in the week, 2 10Ks, and then a strength and conditioning work. And then on Saturday I thought, I've got a shot. You know, the weather's quite good. It's about 12 degrees, not much wind.
It was lovely and cold for a PB.
And then I went out and I was lapping, around about 4:35 a kilometre. And then...
Which is what, 22, just inside 23 minutes.
And then my 4th kilometre was about 4:50, and I thought, this is a bit tight.
It's not flat where you run either, is it?
No, it's the hills.
So the laps, you've got a repeated hill.
So I said the last one I thought it's going to be close, and then I did 23:08.
Oh,
so, yes, you did.
Yeah. So
that made me
really
so happy.
The stats though, because I talked last week about aerobic and anaerobic, about how I did a 10K and it was kind of 8 aerobic and then 0.4 anaerobic.
Yeah.
So different in a kind of racing situation.
I think this is where Joel, our commenter, has got a point there.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, yeah.
Joe was it?
So 5 kilometres PB. Anaerobic.
Yeah, right, we get it. You ran a PB.
Yeah.
Mention it a few more times.
You said that a lot now.
He can.
Hang on. One episode to rinse.
Training effect.
Yeah.
Aerobic, 2.8.
Yeah.
Anaerobic, 2.5. How can that be so different?
Well, the previous one was a 10K, right?
Yes.
So,
but it was
that
only
a 10K
0.4.
PB?
No,
or like
just
a fast 10K?
No, it's just a easy, like a normal run, easy run.
So there's your difference.
So the easier running should be entirely aerobic. And then to explain the figures you're talking about, so this is the training effect on your watch. They're both out of 5. And the degree of the score out of 5 is the effect that it has on that system in terms of making you fitter. So the higher it is out of 5, the more benefit it's giving you to make you fitter aerobically.
Out of 5, okay.
And the more training effect it's had. So similarly, anaerobic out of 5, the higher it is, the more efficient or effective it's making you, the more kind of bang for your buck you've got from that training to help your anaerobic system. So, and it changes over time. So if you did just kept doing the same training, but you're starting from a relatively low base, to start with, you'd get quite high aerobic scores if it was just an aerobic run,
Yeah.
because that's immediately giving you quite a lot of benefit. But then if you just keep repeating the same thing over and over again, it would have diminishing returns, and you kind of have to put in more effort to get fitter aerobically.
I see.
So because you've gone from running a 10K relatively easy, which is almost all aerobic with a tiny bit of anaerobic contribution, that's why those scores are like that.
And this
last
is
week.
50-50 basically.
Yeah, which is what you'd expect for a 5K, I think. Like a 5K is hard. It's,
Really?
it's low 20 minutes of effort. You're quite close to your max for a big portion of that. Your heart rate's relatively high. So there's a proportion of that that's aerobic, because you can't run 5K anaerobically. But you're getting an anaerobic benefit because it's a hard effort for you.
So is it better to have more of one or the other?
Well,
You
you
know,
need
it depends-
different. You
yeah.
need different proportions for
You need
different
different-
runs.
right,
Like
okay.
if you got that split, but what you'd set out to do was a 5K easy run, we'd be like, "Whoa, you're going way too fast, or you're working way too hard,"
Right,
because
okay.
you want that to be of aerobic benefit to you.
All right. Oh,
Yeah, so it depends on what you're... So we always talk about on the running channel, every run should have a purpose. Even if that purpose is just to clear your head, that's still a purpose. But quite often if you're structuring your training week and you've got an interval workout, then you'd expect the interval workouts to give you the highest anaerobic contribution to your training. Whereas your long, steady run on a Sunday, perhaps, that should almost be entirely aerobic, because that's giving you the most bang for your buck in terms of improving your aerobic system.
awesome. I now get it. Did you do any aerobic or anaerobic running?
That sounded very clever, Rick.
Yeah, I did both. But the one I'm going to talk about, I'm enjoying, when I was running professionally, my least favorite run of the week was my Sunday run, the long run. I love running fast, and that's still true. But now I know how much benefit I get from maintaining that level of running on a Sunday. And so I'm able to have a structured week with intervals, a couple of easy runs, and then my Sunday run. And so I'm regularly running close to a half marathon on the Sunday. And this week, the weather was beautiful.
It was.
The scenery.
Oh.
Can you picture the fields?
Oh, I can
you
imagine.
picture the fields?
How are the fields?
Those
The fields were incredible.
Hertfordshire, Buckinghamshire,
Bedfordshire.
Bedfordshire borders must be incredible.
And so I just want to
This time of year.
paint the picture, because you guys are very dismissive of my love for fields.
Correct.
These fields were like, so the ones I was stopping to admire.
Did you actually stop?
I did, yeah, twice, because they were so beautiful.
Twice?
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And they were the view across
Did you
this
stop your
rolling countryside.
Oh,
I
yeah.
did stop my watch.
did stop
actually.
your
You
watch.
stopped your watch
did,
to look
yeah.
at
Stop
a
your watch, Sarah.
field.
Do you stop? I never used to. I've realised I've started.
If I'm with other people, I
Competitive
won't,
nature.
because
Oh,
I
right,
know
okay,
I'll
yeah.
forget to restart it.
Yeah, that's the special button on my watch that just says field. So I just hit that when I see a field. But the field, it was like the barley or wheat or something like that. Beautiful golden field.
Well, at least know what's in the field if you're going to look at the
It was
field.
one of those two things. And the sunshine was hitting the fields, and they were rippling in the wind, and you get that amazing kind of, and
Yeah.
it looked like the scenes in Gladiator,
I love
No.
it.
We
where
watched
he's
it.
walking across the countryside. You've never watched Gladiator?
No.
Oh,
Okay.
gosh.
But Rick and I just,
Yeah, that's
I
really,
really,
that is really sad.
Sorry,
That's
is that annoying?
you've missed out. No, it's not
Yeah.
annoying. I think you're just missing out in life.
You are missing out. a
I'm
little bit.
missing out in life. All right, sorry guys.
So yeah,
I'll just
so I
duck
did
out.
that 90-minute run. Really enjoyed it, and also enjoyed the Strava community. So I think I shared this with you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
as a screenshot.
Your Strava community are well savage.
Strong, yeah.
I like it though. I'm kind of here for it. So guys, go and search it out. Hit me up with some comments. I'm enjoying them. So
Right.
Chris Hallett said, "What's worse than sock shoe? What's worse than sock shoe? Sock shoe? Stopping 370 meters short of 20 kilometers."
Yeah, true.
That's what he says.
Not
And he
rounding
called-
up to a half marathon. Although you
he
did
called me.
perfectly stop it on 90 minutes.
Yeah, I was like, I want to run to 90 minutes, and then he called me a sicko. Thanks.
Sicko.
That's what I mean. It's quite
That is
savage.
brutal.
Then someone who'd been listening to last week's podcast said, "That's not a very scientific workout post."
Love
So
that.
disappointed. -1 star.
Yeah.
Yeah, love
Tough
that.
crowd. And then the worst one from Aaron. What's the obsession of old people enjoying looking at fields?
Have you ever been called an old person before?
Well, by you all of the time.
Yeah,
When you say things like, "I've never seen Gladiator,"
yeah.
that
But
makes
you
me
know,
feel very old.
but for Andy, fields can change his life, and something that running can do for many people.
Yeah. So
Yes.
running obviously is a huge part of all of our lives. I thought this would be nice for this episode to reflect on what would our lives look like if we didn't run, and what was the moment where we all kind of went,
Wow.
"Oh, I'm a runner now." Rick?
I suppose it's slightly different for me in the fact that, Andy started running early, but I have always run, even when I was at primary school. So when I was 6 or 7, I was kind of doing cross country. So for me, running's been a constant, and it is that constant that's always there. Which I suppose when I lost it, when I was injured and I couldn't do, it felt like I was missing out on something. So for me, the idea of how running can change your life, my life kind of changed when I had those 2 years where I couldn't run. But I feel like it's the one thing that gives me, a pattern, like some security, keeps my health in check, and kind of keeps that balance on the naughty stuff in life. And
makes you feel good.
Have you kept a balance on the naughty stuff in your life?
It keeps me more in balance.
It's the relative balance.
It keeps me more in balance. Yeah, relative balance. So I think it's a slightly weird thing for me, because I know you started running later, didn't you, Sarah? Relatively recently. But for me, because it's always been there, I can't really, apart from when I lost it, it'd be different. I can't imagine not doing it.
See, I have totally different. I hated running at school. I absolutely hated it. Always did it. If ever I think back to sports days or, I don't know, running events, if I think of the summer, I was always running, but I was not enjoying it at all. I think I once got a certificate presented in front of the whole school in assembly for running 800 metres, but because I was the only one that volunteered to run the 800 metres after school one day. And that was kind of my...
But you did it.
But yeah, I did it, but I didn't get any enjoyment out of it. And I think when I was at school, my year was very sporty. And so sport for me was a very kind of, I don't know, like an anxious environment, because I was just good enough to make it into a team, or I was just good enough to go and do something. So it was constantly kind of fighting. So it was
because you felt that you weren't very good at it.
Yeah, and in thinking back now, I am fine. I am pretty good at netball, pretty good at hockey, can hit a rounders ball, fine. But I think because the rest of my year was so good, it was that constant battle of not feeling good enough if you didn't make it into the first team or the A team or whatever that was. So then by the time I got to uni, I lost that, I guess, kind of love of sport, because I just saw it as being put down all of the time. And then just when I was going okay, well, I might go to the gym, and I was loving group exercise classes, because I was oh, you don't have to be the best. You're just in a room of all other people, and you're doing, I don't know, I used to do these ones called body pump and body attack. I don't know if you've ever done body attack. Yeah. Hilarious. But it's just so fun. There's no competition element. It's not I love team sports, but I'm very much I don't mind if I win or lose.
So when did it change your life then?
So I remember second year of uni.
When you met me, right?
Yeah, and no, a little bit before that. Oh, okay. Tiny bit before.
Was it before you joined the running channel?
Yeah, so I was a fan of the running channel before I joined the running channel.
Who did you like more?
I was
me
an
or
old... I actually remember when I came for my running channel interview.
Yeah.
It was just around the time, or a few months after, you'd been doing a series where you were trying to break 15 minutes for 5K.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
And I remember having
as never finished that series. Sorry.
Yeah, but I remember having a question in my little notebook of where's the final one of this video? Because I was so invested and I wanted to know.
You had two questions. Where's the final installment of your series, Andy? And what's the deal with the pensions?
Yeah, I was a proper nerd in my interview. I think I actually asked for that interview as well.
Yeah, you did. I was willing to give you the job without an interview.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so prior to that was when I was in my master's year. But 2 years before that at uni, I was going to the gym, had kind of lost touch with exercise, was not really doing that much sport. Was doing a cappella, which was great. Why do you look so confused?
So surprised.
Rick
I
was
think what he's thinking is, can I ask Sarah to just give us a little bit of acapella right now?
Yeah.
No, I'm not giving you a bit of acapella right now. No, I'm not doing it.
What about the running channel? Pick the song, Run With Me.
No.
We've got the rights to that.
No, we're fine.
Do you want me to put it in?
We're okay. No, absolutely not. So I was doing a cappella and I turned to someone in rehearsal and we were talking about running and we were like, can we run 5K? And we were like, yeah, probably. And we went out super early, which for uni is what are you doing? I think we went out at 7 a.m, tried to run 5K down a canal. Worst 45 minutes of my entire life. It was so hard. We were so out of breath. But then we got to the end of it and we finished at a little playground and were trying to do chin ups or press ups or something. And we just felt like it was proper runner's high. Like I've never felt more accomplished than finishing that 5K. And then from there, it was like, okay, 2-3 times a week. We'll get up before the rest of the village and we'll just go.
Was that kind of like you got the drug then?
Yeah. And then ever since then, it's just been that like that urge to chase that like.
I get it.
That feeling.
You know, you said something really interesting, and me and Andy kind of agreed with you the other week about.
Agree.
You don't enjoy every single run that you go on, but it stuck with me afterwards that I found the comment uneasy. And when I was running last week, I was thinking, of course I'm not enjoying it. I'm in absolute pain now on 10K. It's really hot. I was thinking, why did I find the comment difficult? And I realised because I think for many people, you can class your run not as the 50 minutes that you're out if you're doing a long run, or the 25 minutes on a Saturday morning, or 35 minutes, whatever it is. I see it as like the broader picture of the day. So how you feel after you finished and the knock-on effects to that day. So by the time I went to bed on Saturday night, I was in pain on Saturday, running really as fast as I can. But actually, as a day, I was elated.
Yeah.
So actually, it's the day, not the event.
It's not the moment necessarily, the moment. Because you've run for long enough and you keep coming back to it, you've not had that thing of like, I've run once or twice, it's just hard and I don't enjoy it, and then you've stopped. So you've managed to conflate or like combine that experience of like it's the whole day, not just that pain for 5 minutes or half an hour.
But then conversely as well, I feel like for some people, when you're training for ages or you're running for ages, you then will have maybe like a few runs in a row, or you might hit a bit of a rut. And that again, I think you need that element, because then when you finally do get a good run, you go, oh, amazing. Like I'm so grateful I had that run where I stopped and walked, or I sacked it off, or like I just didn't finish it. Because then this run where I've got a PB feels really good.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering whether you ever imagined when you found this love for running that you would be on a podcast like this talking about running, where you'd be the annoying one. Rick could be the stupid one, and then I'm the old one.
Yeah.
This is really not doing much good for my
career. We're like the Spice Girls.
Yeah, they're
annoying Spice.
They're gonna book you. It's gonna be the next after the election this summer. They're gonna be looking for
really
someone to interview the new Prime Minister.
They're gonna be like, can we get that done one off that running podcast?
Really not great for the 7th Prime Minister. Really not great.
It'll be straight in.
Yeah.
Have we got the guy that's had a few 100 points knocked off his IQ by these other two in the podcast as he plays his part? Rick's pointing at me because maybe you care about my experience.
Well, I was just going to ask you, obviously everyone knows you're an Olympian. Running has been a huge part of your life. Can you imagine your life without running?
No, but for lots of different reasons, and not necessarily because of the Olympics. We talked about it a bit before. It's weird when running, you do something across the playground and you feel the wind in your hair.
In your ears.
Yeah. I look like the kid off the Wonder Years, which you won't remember either. I had hair like that. You go from that where you're just racing across the playground and you touch the wall first and you get that real buzz of just running fast, to then it becoming this thing where if you don't do it, you don't get paid, or you're feeling the pressure. I don't think I ever thought about getting paid, but I did feel the pressure of having to do it every day and 12 times a week. And it takes the joy out of it. And then you have those fleeting moments of like euphoria when you've smashed a session that you really didn't think you could do, or you win a race or compete really well in a race or run a PB. But it becomes quite hard. But the moments that changed my life are things like I started running in the first place because one of my closest friends needed to go to, his mum was forcing him out of the house to go to cross country club. He wouldn't go unless he went with a friend. He called me. I went along with him. He gave up 2 weeks later. I was still doing it.
Love that.
30 years later.
Love that.
And I love that. So I found it through that. And then the stuff that I talk to kids about now, if I'm doing a chat at a primary school or a senior school, I went to year 7 and I enjoyed running, but like I wasn't that good. We'd have interform cross country in year 7. So 180 kids in our year at school. I might finish maybe 15th, 20th in my year at my school. So there's 10 or 15 kids better than me, my age, at my own school, let alone in my county or the country.
When did you get to the best in the school?
I just kept showing up, and everyone else gave up and started like being interested in girls
so
and having friends.
What you're saying is, to be successful, you just need to be really stubborn.
Just show up, yeah. No, I probably got to be the best in my year by year 8 or 9, and then.
Oh, so it's pretty quick then.
Yeah, a couple of years.
2 years. years.
It wasn't like a term. It was a couple of years.
2 years in Dave Wilkes training sessions.
Yeah,
but that's so true, because there might be some people listening to this though who, like, I think we're in society now, people just want stuff quickly. Like social media has meant that there are so many challenges going around where it's like the 45 day or the 75 day or the 100-day challenge, and loads of people are looking at that like, oh, that's hard. But like, that's the beauty of running, is that you can't get it overnight. You do need to train for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks if you want to see that result. And like, not especially kids don't want to stick at something for that long. No, and I just weirdly, we joke about the smell of the track in the summer, or that smell of deep heat and grass and mud from cross country. But that's real nostalgia for me, because that was my closest friendships. I spent a lot of time with my dad, where he would drive me to those races. I think I need to smell a track, because we went and ran a track session on Saturday for 100 people, and someone walked in and they were like, oh, it smells great, doesn't it? And literally, I was like, oh yeah, but I was like,
you
can't smell anything. Yeah. Maybe I just need to put my nose closer to it. There's a lot of hay fever going around.
Yeah, hay fever's killing me at the moment. But then, in terms of the love of running and running changing my life, it's changed my life through the people I've met and the experiences that I've had that I wouldn't have otherwise had. I obviously got to race all over the world, which was amazing. I got to train for a long time in Australia and make some good friends out there, and train with some of the best people in the world. Travel to these amazing locations.
Do racing. A podcast with us.
Well, yeah, I was coming. Yeah, you're joking, but it comes full circle, right? We ran together at school. Rick was my cross country captain at school. We met in that school age environment, and then a little bit later on, we're now back together doing a podcast. And then the people who, my coach was the best man at my wedding. He was
Rick met.
Yeah, Rick's met Andy a few times.
Andy Hobdell, I've met him.
He's godfather to one of my kids. The guys I spent day in, day out training with as my training partners. The people I ran with at university, and you have that real different than...
You're surrounded by it everywhere.
Yeah, we had that visceral rivalry being at Cambridge with Oxford as well. So you're really bought into it in a really intense short period of time. And so again, those guys are my closest friends, and I look back on those photographs, which are printed out because they were pre-digital cameras.
Nice.
And like
that's gone full circle.
That's the magic.
The
analog photography and stuff.
Yeah, that's quite cool now.
It's quite cool now. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I feel like that's what happens to me. Just like you keep doing something for long enough, it becomes fashionable again.
Well, so that's I guess a brief snapshot of how running's changed our lives. And as much as we take the mick out of each other, it's brought us all together. Isn't that lovely?
I love it, and I'd love to hear anyone else's stories to podcast at therunningchannel.com to find out how running has shaped your lives or anyone else's life. It has that amazing power to do so. And this is the Running Channel podcast. Up next, we've got some news, followed by the best bit, which is your questions. Okay, Rick, first up, you've got a news story for us, haven't you?
Yeah, so I just want to touch on Rob Burrows, who died this week. What an amazing guy. Obviously, when we did Running Over Christmas on the Running Channel, we were out raising money for MND. He was diagnosed in 2019. He lived for 4.5 years after he was diagnosed. So most people, when they're diagnosed with MND, get around about 2 years. So he was incredibly brave. And I thought it was just incredible, actually, that the day after Rob died, and Kevin Sinfield's been doing so many amazing runs for charity to raise money for MND, but the day after he died, they broke ground on the new MND Centre that's being built in his name in Leeds. Isn't that amazing? The day after. And that's just a pure coincidence.
Yeah. That's the legacy.
That's the legacy. Yeah. But, we've obviously at the Running Channel done a lot, as much as we could for Running Over Christmas for MND. And Kevin Sinfield, who hopefully we're going to speak to on TRC meets later in the year, he's done so much for running as well. So a really sad week, but a guy's made an amazing legacy.
Okay, well, we're going to move on from that one to Laz Lake, the founder, creator of the Barkley Marathons, but it's not about the Barkley Marathons.
Yeah, so Rick actually shared this story, and I think it's very, very cool. So he is very famous for being the person that lights a cigarette to start the Barkley Marathons. And if you've ever seen a picture of him, he looks so amazing and like kind of wacky, and he has this check shirt on when he starts it. He is currently completing his own feat of endurance, which has been dubbed as LazCon on social media. So his real name is Gary Cantrell, and
I love that. Laz Lake's actually called Gary.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it? There's something every year where it goes around being like names that are dying out. And it's like, no one's going to be
Nigel.
calling their baby Gary this year.
Yeah.
Little baby
I think the
Gary.
youngest Nigel in Britain is 38.
Isn't there something like, if you've called, like,
I would love to meet the 38-year-old Nigel.
Nigel comes out the womb dressed in a suit with a briefcase. Do you know what I mean?
Briefcases,
I feel like you're just judging all Nigels. It's outrageous.
Briefcases, they're the one thing that have not gone a full 360 in fashion. Because I've got a uni reunion this weekend, and we got to wear one of the pieces that we wore at uni, if you still got it. And
Did you wear a briefcase?
No. It wasn't a briefcase. I had these massive Jinko jeans that me and Andy probably got when we were living in America for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
And I won't go into too much detail, but and they were really wide jeans. Like they were like you were wearing a pipe on each leg, like an enormous pipe.
They're back in.
Yeah. But the briefcase has never gone 360. But I've kept the briefcase.
Really? Just in case?
From school, I've kept the briefcase.
Did you have a briefcase at school?
I had a briefcase.
Were you in the in-betweeners?
Yeah, I had a briefcase.
You had a briefcase in year 7?
I had a briefcase.
No.
And then I think
I came in with it on the first day and never again. But I've kept the briefcase. I've got it.
What did you have in it? You don't need anything in year 7.
I don't know, but then I thought, and then my first day after uni, I worked in the city, and I took it into work in the city.
Well, I'm going to buy this briefcase. It's an investment. I will use it in year 7, and when I'm 27.
Is this why I'm your only friend from school?
Briefcase boy.
We can't say the in-betweeners line, can we?
Sorry.
Anyway.
So briefcase in year 7, and then if anyone remembers undercuts, Rick had
What
them
is
most.
that?
It's where your hair's quite floppy on the top, and you shave up underneath it all the way.
Oh, Rick.
Yeah.
Well, your hair looks good now, mate. Anyway, Gary Cantrell is aiming to cross the country on foot from Delaware in the east to San Francisco on the west coast, a distance of around 3,000 miles.
Right.
But I think what's incredible, 70 years old.
Not that old.
Has has a number of health issues as well, including a 90% blockage in a carotid artery.
Oh my gosh. All right. Okay. Yeah.
Carotid.
That does make it a bit more tricky.
Artery. Yeah. So incredible feat of endurance. I also think it's really incredible that there are loads of people doing things all over the world right now, loads of different feats of endurance. And whether you are running like 5K or 50,000K, it's incredible. Everyone is running their own game. But I quite like the stories of people that aren't necessarily kind of breaking world records, but they're doing something that is like a feat of endurance, like the oldest person to finish a race. Or like there was someone recently who we should probably touch on as well, but 36 marathons in 36 days with cystic fibrosis. Like stories like that are just so incredibly inspiring.
Yeah, I would agree. So now, speaking of inspiring people, amazing people out there, we love you guys, and you keep writing into us at podcast@therunningchannel.com with some amazing questions. So let's hear some of them.
So, Freya from Devon. Watching elite level athletics recently, e.g. the Diamond League, night of the 10K PBs, I've noticed paces being used for a lot of events. Previously, I've been aware of paces in marathons, but I've suddenly become aware of them being used for shorter distance. Is this a recent development, or have I just been oblivious to it? What is the benefit of paces, and do they really belong in these shorter races? It feels to me a bit like taking some of the raw competition out of it. I get what she's saying here. Yeah. Why do you need a pacer for 1,500 metres?
To answer the first part of the question, which is it a new thing? No, we had pacers when I was running, and that's forever ago, obviously.
Right.
And there's an additional development now where they have wave-light technology in a lot of the big races. So not only do they have human pacemakers to set the pace, they'll also have lights running around the inside rail of the track, where the lights are pre-programmed to demonstrate the exact pace of a perfect pace for whatever time it is you want to run. So if the women want to run 4 minutes for 1,500 metres, which is 64 seconds per lap, and that's the way the lights are set up. And they usually have different colours. And they might even have, in a 10K, they might even have 2 different bits of pace on the track at the same time. So you've got it's kind of A group and a B group following 2 different times, like the Olympic qualifier and the European qualifiers. That's what they had at Highgate for the night of the 10,000s. So we always had them. The question about, the question wasn't specifically why, but the reason that they're in there is because it removes the thinking from the athlete. So there's a small drafting benefit on the track, But generally tracks are relatively enclosed, certainly the big meets are, so you're not getting loads of wind.
Removes the thinking though. I mean, what else have you got to do?
But it's a
Run really fast, try to break a world record, try to win, try not to
you
trip
can't think
up
about your
other
time.
people.
yeah, I'm just thinking about
That's the only thing you're thinking about.
just thinking about your pull socks and whether you're 4.5 on the anaerobic.
I'm just imagining a sketch of like
my
zoom
pulse
into
socks.
Andy's brain and like the
Pulse tiger.
Olympics.
Yeah.
Nothing.
It takes
Tumbleweed.
Nothing.
It takes it's a difficult thing to describe, but it takes a lot of mental and physical effort,
Right.
mental effort to I guess make sure you're on the pace, and it's a strange phenomenon. But if you are just, well, that guy's going to run this pace, all I've got to do is keep up. It massively shifts your mindset and your ability to run that pace. Whereas if you're the one that has to kind of make the running and force the pace at the front, then it is that little bit harder. So
And then how, for 1500, how long did they pace you for? How much of it?
you'd usually, a really good pacemaker might get you to like 1100, so to the bell. So, but mainly they'd go okay.
And did you ever pace?
No, I didn't. Funnily enough, pacing are often more lucrative than racing.
That's so
Oh,
funny.
really?
Yeah, because I might have said this before, but in the races on the track, often it pays down to 8th place.
Yeah.
So I might be in a race with 16 people over 1500 meters, some of the best guys in the world. And certainly when you're up and coming, I might come 10th and run a massive PB and get no money at all. But the pacemaker's been paid $2,000 just to pace.
$2,000.
Oh, and
just
they,
to pace
drop,
for
and they
one
drop
race.
out
Yeah.
of after
Wow.
1100.
And they've only got to do it.
Yeah, well,
kilometre.
usually they have 2 paces. In the 1500 meters, they have a pacemaker to do the first maybe 600 to 800 meters, and then the next pacemaker just to get as far as they can past that. So whether it's another 200 or 300 meters.
Wow.
But
What a great
But
job.
the wave lights made a big difference because pacers were notoriously bad. So it's really hard, not least because in the 1500 meters, we're idiots. The athletes are idiots. So you go off really hard, like way faster than you need to go because you're
Yeah.
jockeying for position and you want to get into the best spot on the track,
Yeah.
which means you're going too fast.
Yeah.
So the pacemaker has to go stupidly fast for the first 200 meters and then
see.
settle back onto the front, which can mean that they do a crazy pace for that first lap. So that's why the pacers are in there. But there is a good argument about racing and whether it, I think Freya says, taking some of the raw competition out of it. You'll often hear commentators saying, oh, it's a true run race or whatever. But, you know, I wish I'd raced in the current kind of, not least for the super shoes, but in the current crop of runners, because when I ran actually outside of the pace races like Diamond Leagues and stuff, our championship races were always slow. And I was a pretty fast finisher and tactically sometimes got it right, but it's such a gamble. And I was better suited because I was probably training more like a 1500 5K runner. So if the races had been faster. So if we had natural front runners like there are at the moment, Ingebrigtsen always goes to the front broadly, and the pace is always true from the beginning, I would have run better, I think.
Oh, really?
Whereas it become a lottery.
Has a pacer ever just gone, sod it, I've got this?
Yeah, they do
And
carry
won.
on sometimes. I actually, funnily enough, I came second in the mile at Crystal Palace one year, really famous mile. And it's the Emsley Car Mile. You sign a book before it, and the book's got everyone's names going back to like Co-Yvette, like 50 odd years or whatever.
Yeah.
And I came second because I thought the guy in front of me, I couldn't have beaten him anyway, but I kind of let him get away. And then as I was passing people, I was pretty sure that I was winning. And then I look up and the pacemaker that I thought was the pacemaker was still in the race, and I never got him back. So he won the race. But he wasn't the pacemaker. I've just mistaken someone. So slightly different.
Oh, right.
But there
They
are
have
stories.
pacemaker?
Yeah. You can stay in. It's very hard to do because of that, the mentality of it. So
You just have to play the game. You just have to pretend that you weren't that good for a few races before and then just nail it.
Imagine.
Anyway,
Do they have
I would-
pacemakers at the Olympics?
no pacemakers at the Olympics. But going back to the early 2000s, Hicham El Garouj from Morocco still holds the world record for the mile and the 1500 meters. He almost always had a compatriot from Morocco in the final with him who would ask to set the pace.
Right.
And so you'd see that guy go to the front, set a really strong pace, which was essentially like having a pacemaker. And then El Garouj would take over.
And then just drop off
Yeah.
at the end and finish last.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Tactical.
Right. Well, that was great fun. Sarah, very briefly, before we go, have you got a favour to ask?
I have got a favour to ask. I'm loving the fact that we are getting so many lovely reviews, and I love the fact that each week Andy has such great Strava comments. So please head over to Andy's favourite social media, Andy
Only
Baddeley,
social media.
on Strava, and send some podcast love in your own words on all of his workouts this week, because by the time next week's podcast goes out, he will have run, hopefully, a new 5K time that he's been working towards,
So
not
then
to put the pressure on.
So yeah, that's terrifying actually. It's come around really fast. So
Do you think you'll beat 23:08?
I'm gonna, I'm going to do my very best to beat 23:08. So we can compare times afterwards. Maybe we can compare our aerobic and anaerobic scores afterwards.
That would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Right, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.